Great. Welcome everyone to SEO Office Hours. My name is Michael Chidzey. I'm an SEO here at Good Signals. And part of what we do, along with special guests, are these office hour sessions where people can jump in and ask their questions around their website and web search. By the way, nobody here is in the hot seat and we might not know all the answers, but multiple heads thinking about a problem should help. We've had a bunch of questions submitted already, which you can't see because they're on my screen, but they're there and we'll run through them. But if there's anybody here live on the call that would like to ask any questions, please feel free to flag yourself in the chat functionality, which will be monitored. Also, there's usually a bunch of other amazing SEOs live on the call that share their ideas, experiences, and perspectives. I personally think that's one of the best things about SEO Office Hours is not just hearing from the four of us, but hearing from you guys as well. So please continue to do that. And like always, with me today is Juliana Turnbull, also known as SEO Joe Blogs. Good morning.
Good morning, Mike, and good morning, everyone, for joining us today on our 89th episode. We have our final episode of 2026 next Friday, when we're also going to have a Christmas jumper special.
Sorry, I don't know why I laughed then.
So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Drop us in the chat where you're calling in from. Oh, I already see that. Yes, we've got Pakistan, we've got Nigeria, of course, Barcelona. Yay! We also have dialing in from many places in the UK. We have Stoke-on-Trent, we have Oxford, we have also got Brighton as well. We've got Madrid, Cape Town, Cheltenham, as well as London and Munich, maybe? Quite a few places. So welcome, our 89th episode of SEO Office Hours. We are really pleased to have on our show today, we have Victoria and Alison. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to first off briefly introduce Victoria. Victoria is a founder and marketing consultant at Contenticore. She has over 6 years experience serving multiple clients across 5 different continents. She's also the co-founder of Clazenix. I will share that in the chat. This is an organization that is focused on empowering youth with global opportunities, career growth, and digital skills. In the Clazenix Scholarship Bootcamp, she impacted over 2,500 youth from 26 different countries. That's very impressive, Victoria. Congratulations on this. When did you set up this organization?
I set it up about 4 months ago.
Oh, wow. So you are very busy.
Yeah, for our very first event, that was the numbers we had, and that was literally very massive. Yeah.
Congratulations, because not only have you done that, you have also got a master's in business management. You are also a judge for the UK Search Awards, the Northern Digital Awards, and also the European Search Awards. Plus, we'll be seeing you very soon as a speaker at Women in Tech SEO, Women in Tech WTS Fest in February 2026. And you're also going to be speaking at Brighton in the April/May conference. So many congratulations, Victoria. How do you do everything?
I don't know, honestly. I have no idea, but yeah, thank you.
Connect with Victoria here. I was sharing her LinkedIn profile in the chat. Victoria is a freelance and marketing consultant. She has a little bit of availability for early next year. If you would like to have a wonderful marketing consultant help you with your digital marketing needs, please contact Victoria. So over to Alison. Alison, you have well over a decade of experience specializing in SEO and helping clients with strategy, content, doing international SEO within the gaming space, and you also lead the media and content teams. You've experienced both freelance and also consulting in in-house roles. You have a wide range of experience across not just on-page SEO, but technical SEO, news-led SEO as well. You are pretty busy at work, but you also attend quite numerous SEO conferences. I believe you were at Brighton SEO and some of the larger conferences as well. In the UK, you are open to doing some speaking gigs in 2026 as well. So if anybody is looking for a fantastic speaker, please do contact Alison. I'm going to share your details in the chat here. Welcome to the show, Alison.
very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we've got so many questions here today. We had quite a few last week as well. And of course, with this nice little content update, we'll see if we have any questions around that pop up. I think we'll go to the questions now, Mike.
Great. Do you know what? It's quite funny. I think most weeks we get questions around whether there's been a core update. And in fact, I remember a couple of months ago, we literally had somebody name one of the updates. They were just like, we think it's called this and so on. But we have got a relevant question about that. Obviously, it's very early stages. It's hard for anybody to give any kind of indication in terms of their industry or their particular situation. We'll start with this one. So we were actually planning to begin a domain migration this week. The new website is already live, but we haven't implemented any redirects yet. And honestly, I'm relieved because the December core update has literally just started rolling out. We're now stuck in that kind of awkward limbo where both sites are live. The old domain still receives over 36,000 clicks a day. The new domain only has a handful of URLs indexed so far. The content isn't identical, but it's very similar. The help section itself is completely identical, but that sits on a subdomain. And in Search Console, the new site has minimal data so far because they've only just gone live with the site. So my question is, in the middle of a major core update rollout, would you no index the new domain temporarily to avoid duplicate signals and algorithmic confusion until the update finishes, or just leave both sites as is, assuming Google doesn't penalize or mishandle this temporary coexistence? We just want to avoid mixed signals, losing rankings, or confusing Google during such a sensitive window. Curious how other SEOs have handled a migration mid-core update. Okay, who would like to kick off on this one? Alison, go for it. I can see you moved, so I'm going to go with you if that's okay.
Yeah, I think personally probably would be looking maybe to be a bit more careful around the core update, but I think that it's not necessarily a requirement that you pull everything back and don't do anything at all. I think generally the core updates, as far as I'm always thinking, as long as you're doing good SEO and consistent SEO, it really shouldn't impact in a bad way anything that you are doing. But I think it also depends on what's happening with some of the pages that have already been indexed. Are they actually getting any traffic? If you just straight up no index those, are you going to suddenly lose anything that's coming in from those pages as well? I've done some where we've not had some of our technical SEO stuff straight in place. So we've done almost like a mid place, a little bit similar to what you're saying about having your new site no index before implementing all your redirects and things like that. And it's something that I wouldn't necessarily recommend if you can go ahead and do your migration. I think you should just go for it. But I understand that it's always worrying around core updates, but generally a lot of these core updates are really focused on getting better content out there. So if you've redeveloped your site with better content.
You've frozen for me, Alison. Is that for everybody else? Okay, but you actually made like some amazing points. So I think we can ask Victory, do you have anything to add?
I think I actually agree with what Alison has said, because even with what Simon has actually said on the chat as well, because I don't really think we have to wait for the core update to finish, like being fully out there. As long as you know that what you're doing is already in alignment with Google guidelines, and what you're going to be providing is actually going to be very valuable and useful to your audience, I would actually strongly recommend you just do it right away.
Great. Sorry, Alison, you cut out just at the end there. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I'm not sure where I cut out.
It was, yeah, it was, I think it was at the very end of what you were saying,
Yeah,
basically.
probably, yeah, nothing else. No. Yeah, I think you just may as well go for it. And if your content's better, then hopefully migrating across to that will strengthen that following the core update anyway.
Amazing. Joe, do you have anything to add?
No, nothing really to add because everyone's done some great answers. And I want to actually get to the chat. There's also some good comments there, unless you want to give your opinion first, Mike.
Yeah, sure. I think the only things I would add is I would say it probably depends on how different
It
this
depends.
this new website is. And when you say the content's different, I wonder how different that is, and if it's totally different, if it's a totally different brand, and so on. That could be a bit confusing, but I think that's just migrations in general, not just down to this core update. And the other thing that I would add on to that is the only thing with core updates is it just makes reporting a little bit confusing, because then you don't know if there have been shifts in results. You don't necessarily know if it was because of the update or if it was because of the new website. I'm getting lots of it depends alerts in the chat. Sorry, but yeah, I would just think about reporting that you might not know how successful that's been, but I wouldn't let that completely hold you back. I would just make sure you're annotating it and you're very much like, this is what happens, and you have to bear that in mind or when you're getting to the end of your core update. Joe, let's go to the chat.
Yes, we've got quite a few chats, quite a few comments on this one. It's always a hot topic. First of all, Simon had said that, a good point, he would not wait, as we've been talking about, for the core to finish before migrating. Migrate straight away. Steve has also, for the person who's asked the question, saying that you're not alone. Hence, he provides some examples of how some companies have messed up the content move, although, of course, that may return back to normal levels after some time. John has said, core updates use old data, so please do keep on moving. Mons has also said to migrate straight away. In terms of this core update, Steve has said the data tells him, so they have a lot of data around this, that it won't actually affect the move, but it does make it more difficult to measure, monitor, like you said, Mike. And just a few things around. It can't, Francesca saying it can't hurt to throw a bit of salt on an update, and obviously using the Winchester boys to put the salt in, which obviously was going against the demons and protecting yourself. Very funny. Thank you. I know. See, so those that are watching us, the recording, you need to join us live, because then you can see all the stuff in the chat. It's quite fun. Just looking and seeing. Oh, hello, Preeti. Jonathan, actually, you came up with a good point here. Make a list of what's changed and create a timeline of dates, and it'll help you see the wood from the trees. Correct, because you can become a bit overwhelmed, and I would say that with the core update. You're like, I've planned to do this migration, and now we have an update. Thank you, Google. Why didn't you give us a sneak peek that it was going to happen? No, surprise. Okay. So this is why it's really always important to be organized and make sure you do migrations at a set time. So, for example, this is not referring this one, but don't do it, of course, on a Friday afternoon. Make sure you have time and you have the team to review this. Just a few other things, chats in here. Oh, no, you already said live SEO office hours is so much fun. It is. Yeah, if you've already done the site migration, you may be hesitant to like, oh, I'll stop it, but really just rip off that Band-Aid. You plan to do it, you spent a lot of time doing it, just because Google has done something, sorry, Google, just continue with it as per planned.
Legal disclaimer, do not come, do not challenge office hours if something goes wrong. And also in the chat, you can now put annotations actually directly in Google Search Console, which is quite cool. So that's quite handy for being able to look back when you're reporting and see that sort of stuff. They've also added things like social and YouTube signals, but they're not coming through for me yet. So I don't know what they look like, but I'm quite excited to see that. And it's a lot easier to compare as well with dates. Okay, let's jump on to the next question. Nice and short one this time, which is, how important is Reddit to your online strategy? Victory, would you feel comfortable starting with this one?
Yes, absolutely, because I think I even had two talks about Reddit for the WTS and BrightonSEO. Well, honestly, when it comes to Reddit, I actually believe it's a very important platform. For me personally, it has actually become like an unexpected part of my strategy, not just because like it's a platform itself, but because it helps you become a better marketer. When you spend time on a platform like Reddit, you quickly realize that it's literally about humans. And you also realize that it's about understanding what the audience are looking for, because Reddit is a platform where people go there and they have literally important conversations around everything. Like you could literally find a subreddit about everything. So I feel Reddit is a platform that you could literally use for your research to know how your audience are talking, the language they're using, to understand like what they're thinking about, their pain points, like very clearly. Like you could actually see and understand the exact issue that they are trying to be addressed. And you also it's going to be useful for you to, it's going to force you to actually listen if you're a brand that actually wants to look out for ways to actually improve how you talk to your client. So if you use a platform like Reddit to actually do a lot of research, to just look at how people in your industry or in your niche are talking about other things, it's going to give you unedited, unfiltered, and brutally honest feedback. So it helps you pay attention and you actually get clarity. Your content gets sharper, your messaging gets natural. The way you actually position your products, you will actually stop guesswork. And it actually helps your SEO content strategy to be more aligned to the search intent you're trying to look out for, not like you're assuming, because you're literally going to be pulling out content. Like it's like a gold mine to pull out content from the conversations and the questions that your audience are literally having about your brand. So it's a platform to show you how your audience are disappointed. It's a platform to show you what they wish they would love to have in a particular like product, like maybe you're offering or an industry that you are in. So when you look at those phrasing, it actually helps to become like a backbone of your messaging. When you look at the kind of content that gets upvoted and downvoted, it actually shows you like the mental modes of the community. When you look at it actually helps you to identify the gaps and to see the unmet needs generally about your audience. So I actually feel like honestly, Reddit should actually be a part of your audience, because part of your online strategy, because it literally helps you to just see things, because PR alone is not enough, SEO alone is not enough. It's literally bringing you back to the original foundation of what marketing should be about, which is actually your audience. Yeah.
Amazing answer. Alison, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think that when it comes to Reddit and stuff, like say, it's absolutely invaluable for getting like really good insights
Hmm.
into what your customer base are thinking. I think if you're intending on putting it into your strategy in a way where you want to maybe interact with your audience in terms of using it as a marketing channel, I think you've got to be very careful, because Redditors they don't really want businesses in there. But I think in the similar way to how you would approach SEO content, make sure that everything that your brand or whoever is participating with a Reddit community about is super helpful and is genuinely useful advice for people, because they don't want you just jumping into a chat just to promote something. Very much they want useful advice in more of a brand relationship building sense, so not necessarily a in your face marketing experience, but here is a brand offering really genuine helpful advice around that topic that then is going to stick hopefully in the memory of those Redditors. And also just outside of Reddit, there's a lot of other communities specifically for different industries and topics that are also super useful for this stuff. Recently started working with a triathlon specialist, and one of the things that I've been having a look at is Facebook groups and also some very specific triathlon communities where not only where they're going to get into quite a few more bits of like technical detail as well, where it's very community driven for that specific topic. So Reddits are not the only user generated platforms out there that are useful for getting in touch with your community as a brand. Yeah, just some extra, but yeah, everything Victory said basically.
Amazing. Joe, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, excellent points from Alison and Victory. I'm a really big fan of Reddit. I've been using myself for like own research. What is really important in this day and age is the fact is actually Reddit's actually been around since 2005, and it's only really been brought to the forefront because of the partnership, the $60 million a year partnership that was February 2024. And what this meant was that actually Reddit allowed Google then to go in and crawl user data for some AI algorithms. And that's why you're seeing a lot of the answers, or you're seeing a lot of brand mentions or things that people are talking about particular brand in Reddit appearing in AI overviews. So it is really important to actually have Reddit as part of your strategy if you want visibility. But I would also say Reddit is a community. So what we're seeing now, and I believe Aaron Simmons showed this in actually Brighton SEO about the fact with the rise of AI, people are actually not trusting the SERPs as much, and they're looking more at communities. Reddit is a community of people. So as Alison said, you can't just be like promoting your brand in there. You need to be active in there from the beginning. I see it as a platform what we had with Facebook years ago when it first came out. So you're engaging in the community first, and then you're actually going to be looking at maybe date or promoting your product. But we've actually seen, and there's a lot of stats about this, that actually its organic visibility, Reddit's organic visibility has actually surged 400% following the Google's helpful content updates. It will be interesting actually to see what is the impact after this algorithm update, obviously today. But I do believe at the core, if you're going to be a brand, there's a lot more competition happening now. But if you want to be a successful brand in 2026, you need to have community as part of your online strategy. And within that, I would look at the platform Reddit.
Perfect. I like to think of Reddit sometimes as like events. So when you talk about community, it's really good. People having discussions, and it's a bit like some of our industry events. There are usually some SEO tools and brands there, but it's actually the people that work for those places that you remember and the conversations that you have with them. And so I think if you're incorporating it into your strategy in terms of you would like your brand to have a presence there, I think it's important it needs to be your people that have that presence, not brands, because I think that's when you want it to be authentic and real. And I think there's nothing more authentic than real than having real people behind it, or customers or whatever. So I think from that perspective, we got some people on the call that always like sponsor events and come to events, like Joe from SitePoll, we got Steve from Systrix and so on. But actually it's those guys that you remember. It's not like obviously their tools and so on, but it's the fact that they're so lovely and you chat to them, and that's what you would want to come across on things like Reddit. Simon just said they are not tools, Mike. Yes, I was quite specific. It was the brand that is the SEO tool. I think I can't really add any more in terms of using it for research. It's obviously the most incredible tool for that. The only one thing I would say is it also largely depends on your industry and product. So if you work in the B2B space and your customer group is your target market is quite small, then actually those conversations might not be happening there, and it might be a bit of a waste of time, you investing loads of time in Reddit. The last thing I wanted to add, and this was more about LLMs, but it was the impact of Reddit, is this week Ahrefs, there was a blog post on Ahrefs just about them coming up with a fake brand and basically seeding it on places like Reddit and seeing that brand appear then in all the different LLMs. And they also had more sort of official sources, but it was the stuff from Reddit that was being served in LLM. That's quite an interesting read. I think it only came out yesterday or a few days ago, so it's worth a read because it's nice to have a bit of SEO drama.
SEO drama. We have loads of SEO drama.
I know. Joe, is there anything else is there anything in the chat?
Yeah, we have got loads in the chat. Yeah, so basically, Simon with loads of jokes, great. 60 million, follow the money. Yep, this is so true. Find out where your intended audience hang out. This is a very good point. So it's really helpful so I said, as with all things in your online strategy, if it's generally helpful and reaches your audience where they are, do Reddit. If not, then no. There are some clients you might not have to do that with. We also saw Dawn said that even if it's not part of the strategy, the insights from Reddit topics are invaluable because these are real humans, mostly, having real conversation. I myself, personally, I think that I get a lot of answers from Reddit, and it's just genuine and transparent. People just don't hold back, so that's great. Dawn said that Reddit have the most amazing IR-grounded search engineer, Doug Turnbull, who wrote AI-powered search and is a revered IR engineer, stroke AI engineer, was their chief relevance officer for years. Oh, Doug Turnbull. I have to look out for that. That's another Turnbull. I'm Turnbull as well. And then we also had Jordan, you shared the talk actually that Aaron's going to be speaking about in April next year. The future of SEO is trust-centered, and this is how you become the trusted answer. Because yes, last October, Aaron showed how visibility is a byproduct of trust and how to earn trust to the community. So this one is a very interesting one. It's a continuation. And really, I would say for Reddit, it's also about community. Make sure you're also getting involved in the community as a brand so you can actually be seen as the people behind the brand. You are genuine, and you can offer advice and support to others. So loads of comments in the chat. Oh, the force is too strong with Reddit. Yeah, loads.
Joe, you said it'll be interesting to see if the core update has an impact on the power of Reddit. And actually, one of my favorite blogs to follow during core updates is Steve. It's Strix always does a report, and I think or he shares blog posts about what's going on and updates it at the end. And it's just fascinating. And I recommend any SEOs to, sorry if you're not doing it, by the way, this year, Steve, I've totally just put pressure on to do it. But I think they're brilliant. And it shows you the websites that are doing better than they were before the core update. But as SEOs, it's a great starting point to then really dig into them and their websites and see if we can learn anything about what they were doing and why they might be doing so well now versus why not. Okay, should we jump on the next
We
question?
should, yes, but just want to say, because we're halfway through SEO office hours, and we've only done 2 questions, which is totally fine. And if people are joining us just via the recording, come and join us live. It's so much fun. As you can see, there's loads of interaction in the chat. So we are on every Friday at 9:30 a.m. GMT. Though next week is our last one on our 90th episode. It is our last one before we take a little tiny break for Christmas. But do join us. You can always sign up on Good Signals, and you can go to their homepage, and then you can actually go and sign up, and Mike will send you a calendar invite. We're all about asking, answering, and commenting on questions. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining us so far. After our 2 years and 89th episode.
And it's along with it being the Christmas one, we have Dawn and Dixon here next week. Dawn's on the live chat, which I'm so excited about because we did that last year, and obviously they always provide amazing insights. Alison, I know you work with Dawn, so you're a big fan as well.
Work very closely.
Yes, let's jump on to the next question. We're designing and building a company blog from scratch, essentially with a blank slate. If you had complete freedom, would you include categories in the URL structure? How would you design the blog homepage? And are there any company blogs that you think do this particularly well that you would recommend for inspiration? Oh, we had this question, I think, about at the very beginning and when we first started doing office hours. So it'd be interesting to see if people's types of blogs and so on have changed. Who would like to kick off on this one? Alison, you've moved again. You've done that thing, so I'm going to start with you if that's okay.
Yeah, I think when it comes to these blogs, I think I'm gonna do the old it depends thing. I think if you can, I think if it's very straightforward and and your category is very well structured and nothing's gonna cross over between those categories, then I would probably have it as part of your URL structure for really clear relationship building between the article and the kind of overall topic. But I've worked on not so much a blog, but kind of newsy stuff. And sometimes where you have things that cross over into potentially different categories, that's potentially going to kind of limit how you build those relationships between the multiple categories that they could fall into. So I think in terms of putting it into your URL structure, it really depends on how solid those categories are and whether or not you're going to be having crossover between separate kind of categories and whether you want that freedom to be able to have them sit within different topics as well, where you might have some crossover. I haven't got any great examples, to be honest. It's just from my main kind of like newsy experience of trying to deal with these things. One of the things I would always consider, though, is when you're doing this with if you are going to be crossing categories and you're not going to be putting things in your URL that give you a really nice, easy way of tracking things, have a really good think about how you're going to track your topic coverage and performance around those areas, because it can be an absolute nightmare if you don't have that stuff in place. And say you're producing quite a bit of content that's crossing different categories, it can be a bit of a nightmare to track performance up amongst those different categories and where that kind of stuff sits. Yeah, that's my kind of main input, is the old it depends.
By the way,
advice.
Somebody asked about the type of content, and I've put it in the chat, that it's basically health and fitness. And from what I can see, they sell things like protein, vitamins, online courses, that type of stuff. So I just thought I'd clarify that, Alison, because obviously you said about a triathlon brand before. So if you think of anything else in that industry, feel free to jump back in. Victory, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I have 2 answers. Number one, it depends. Yeah, because it depends on how very massive the entire company is going to be about. For example, if you look at a platform and a blog like HubSpot, that they have a lot of categories for like for very key like areas that they are working on. And actually that has worked for them over the years and it's still working for them till now. But if it's a smaller brand, I think my answer would be no. If you're very sure of what you're going to be doing, if you're very certain about like the areas that you're going to be like be focusing on, I think that might not be necessary, because one thing about having lots of categories is that the truth is you're actually locked into that particular information architecture for a while. And if you're looking forward to migrating in the future, like that could literally cause like messy migrations. And sometimes I think these categories evolve over time and they could actually break or need redirect. So you have to keep on checking and checking to ensure that they are in position. So I would highly recommend that you just have like specific areas and then just focus on them. But if it's necessary, you can go ahead to have all of those categories. And then for the next question about examples of blogs, I think, like I said, HubSpot is a good example if you're going very in-depth in all of the categories. But I think I have other examples like Intercom. They have really good blog and their content is actually very good, but they're not a lot of URLs and categories in the URL structure, but it's so clean and it's really so straightforward. You also have Figma has really good examples. You could check them out. Shopify blog has really good examples as well. Notion, a couple. But yeah, you could check those one out. And then for the next question about how will you design your blog homepage for a new website, for a version that works today, I feel your blog homepage I feel it's like a menu. When you go to a restaurant, it's like a menu, like you're literally showing off not every single thing, but you're showing off an idea of what you have to offer. And then eventually, like when they go into the menu and pick a particular section, they go more in depth on that particular thing that they want. So your blog homepage should actually be, I actually feel a minimalistic version of a blog or a homepage of a website would actually be very helpful, because people come to your blog because they want to get educated. They're looking for, let's say, inspiration. They're looking for use cases or maybe even industry news in your industry. So I feel your homepage of your blog should actually have like a pillar content. You should have how-to guides. You should have resources and templates. I really feel it's about the image that you're trying to portray to your audience and the kind of content that you serve, or you could have like specific areas to actually address that. And if you're going to have a huge category section, you could actually section your blog by topic clusters and have specific topic clusters to address those content. And please, I would strongly recommend, if you're planning to do like a full-blown content strategy, if you're planning to have a lot of articles on your website, I would actually suggest that you have a prominent search bar that people can actually go ahead and search for a specific content on your blog. That would really help. And yeah, if you could also have AI features that could actually have an AI assistant that could address them to a particular area that they're looking for. Yeah, the goal is when people come to your blog homepage, you want them to actually have direction to what they're looking for, rather than looking at it and then bouncing off. So I feel the end goal and the end result actually is, what experience are you looking forward to giving your audience, and how are you going to help your homepage of your blog fit into that experience? Yeah.
Amazing.
Wow.
Amazing. Both of you, amazing answers. Thank you. Joe, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just first of all, just say thank you so much. There is loads there. I just wanted to highlight the fact that if you had complete freedom, what would you include categories in the URL structure? Yes, I would include that just to help with the organization. But what I would do is have a look at some of the blogs that actually you really like. I do like NerdWallet, and you can look at ones that either are not quite in the same sector. So NerdWallet is great in terms of how they design their website. They've actually go into different sections. They also include the fact that they have the writers in there as well. So make sure when you're designing your blog, you include that too. You have the experts. They have included the categories within their actual URL. So I think it works well if you have a specific category. You can also look at, I'm just going to share this one as well. This is the top fitness blogs to follow. You can have a look at how they have done them and really think about how you would like your blog to look. So you don't necessarily need to put a category URL in. If you don't want to, if it's like how you've organized your content, then yes, you do. I would want to. And then in terms of the second part of it, how would you design the blog homepage? Are there any company blogs you think do this well? So that's what I've just shared, the link for the company blog. And also for NerdWallet, I do like how NerdWallet actually organizes their content and designs it. But really, you do need to just make sure that you've got also a CMS that we haven't talked about this, a CMS that is actually very useful, so very easy to use, and one that also other people can use too, because you want it to be, if anyone comes in the company later on and wants you to change something, it has to be easy to do. It can't be like a two-month process to change things on your site. So just have that featured as well within your mindset of how you're going to structure the site. Loads of also comments here that I can share, unless you want to have mention a few things first, Mike.
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to categories in the URL, it sounds like this is a new blog, and there's a good chance that your category names and so on might change as you learn and develop content and so on. And so my concern there by putting category names in the URLs is that if you to go from eat, fitness, run to something like recover, food and drink, and so on, that means you've got to change not just those category URLs, but you then have to change every single blog post that comes under those. So there's the kind of future proofing. And it also means if you decide to change which category a post comes under, it also means you're changing the URLs. Or if you want posts to come under multiple categories, you're going to have a primary category. Otherwise, there's going to be issues with duplicate content, or you're going to end up. It depends on if this is a custom build or if you're using one of the popular CMS platforms. Most of those allow you to put it under different categories, but that's just something to bear in mind. But what Alison said is also really interesting. So you've basically got the future proofing, which is not including it, or if you do include category names, it makes it a bit easier for things like reporting. So I think it depends on what the aspirations are for this website, and how many different posts. People are writing shot every time somebody says it depends. They're writing shot in the chat. I can see it. We're gonna have to maybe next week for the Christmas one. I need some eggnog or something on my desk and have a shot each time. But yeah. So anyway, sorry. Going back to the question. So I think putting categories into URLs. I personally probably wouldn't initially or at all, but I would still categorize the content, but I just wouldn't include that in the URL. I tend to use things like, I use a tool called SEO Stack for things like helping me report, and that uses Search Console's data, but you're able to create filters. And so I would just create filters with specific URLs if you're not having categories. So you can still, that sort of helps with the reporting challenge. So yeah, and then in terms of the blog homepage, if I was designing from scratch, keeping with Victory's restaurant/menu analogy, I'm not a big fan of going on a website where they basically just have their specials, which is just their latest posts or their bin and wines. I think if I was designing a blog, I'd want to make sure that for new visitors, I put the best pieces that do really well out on the homepage, as well as some of the new stuff. So what's popular and what's new. So those who have come back, they see that. And then I'd also include categories so that you can go and visit the information that you want quickly. I think that seems to work really well on most popular blogs. And I think if you just end up with a list of new posts, then some might be hit, some might be miss, and you might lose people. I think that they were all my points, actually. Joe, did you say we have stuff in the chat?
We have loads of things in the chat, especially the shot one. Taking a shot, because of course it depends. Simon quite rightly said that categories are useful for humans to find the content they're interested in, but each will depend. Each will need a good introduction to the topic, as an evergreen page will not rank at all. Please use URLs, not parameters, for your categories as well. Don has an excellent point, Alison. Category cannibalization is real, so it's really important to actually have a map out of your content and where you want it sitting. Lindsay has suggested to build content pillars directly linking to a relevant subcategory that would help with crawlability and user experience. Also, Jonathan actually shared a top blog. Yes, that's the Schwarzenegger blog. Yeah, it was a very interesting one. Yeah, 60 years ago, Gold's Gym became his second home. I think that's also an inspiration for anybody who wants to try and do strength building. in 2026. A great point by Victory, Simon said. Articles on your blog homepage will do better than any other. So you will want to have the important ones featured there, and you'll need to have a way to manually choose how those are formed, how those are shown. A few other links in the chat as well. If you are using WordPress, John said, please do limit your plugins. And then Jojo, I quite like that persona you put in. So Jojo shared from Sitebulb that actually 21.53% of Sitebulbers are WordPress worshippers. So the point is that there's lots of different platforms you can use. That was interesting to see that, Jojo. I don't know if you have the number of stats of how many people took part of that, but yeah, there's lots of platforms out there. So do try and look at that when you're also thinking about categories as well. Sorry, lots of jokes in the chat. This is why you need to join us live. So many jokes. So that's why I'm scrolling because I can't see the comments. Loads of jokes. And yeah, limit your plugins. Again, John said that, and just those are images as well. I think we answered your question. Basically, find out what you want for your vlog. Look and see what competitors are doing, and also what people are doing that you do. Think about your CMS as well, and make sure it's easy to update. Make sure it's not just you updating it, because I'm sure other people might want to change things. You don't want to have it all on you. And sorry, there's another comment in the chat here. Okay, no, that's it. Sorry, lots of jokes here. We've done 3 questions. We just have 11 minutes left.
I know, right. So we will get through another. Steve's also just put the core update data. It's just literally just posted. So we'll also share that as well. But for anyone watching afterwards on YouTube, although by the time the video goes up, you might know that it's the situation. Okay, let's see. Basically, the answer to that question was it depends based on the amount of shots and in the chat. And by the way, we do this at 9:30 in the morning, so we won't be. Unfortunately we won't be able to do actual.
Could do coffee shots
Oh,
or
you don't want to see me buzzing on coffee.
shots of ice cream.
Okay, next question. With Gemini 3, dynamically creating images, tables, simulations, calculators, and even mini apps directly inside AI mode, do websites now have to compete not just with other sites, but with Google's own generated experiences? And if that's the direction that things are going, how on earth do we stop content from being replaced by Google's UI? And that's especially for things like comparison websites and where they can just create tables on the fly and so on. Who would like to kick off on this one? Alison, are you comfortable?
Yeah,
Go for it.
I'll go. Great. So I think yes. I think it's pretty much a definite that yes, that is going to be what happens. But I'm not sure I really have any answers other than potentially making sure that your content is in this kind of new world is as personalized to your brand, really selling like your USPs and really trying to add value to the conversation from your brand to try and make sure that when they are generating this content, you are the brands being recommended essentially. But I do think it's a really interesting one because of things like comparison sites and like affiliate sites and things, because as it stands, Google is using a lot of their content to create those things, and AI is using a lot of that content to decide what are the things they should be recommending for people within this generated content. But what happens to these sites and what happens long term if they don't get any of that traffic and therefore they don't make their money from that traffic anymore? Where is all this stuff for them to create their content going to come from? So I think it's going to be really interesting to see over the next kind of 5 to 10 years how all of that really develops as more and more of these generated experiences come out, and we see what is likely a demonetization of a lot of those types of sites, even though they are used a lot to actually generate that information. So I think at some point there's going to have to be something done to ensure that kind of content still exists out there, but I have no real idea of how that's going to work. As I said, I think it's just going to be interesting to see what does happen. Obviously, I know publishers are coming across similar issues where these generated content experiences are using their content. And I think there was quite a lot of talk at the recent news event that John Shahar put on around publishers starting to block AI and block those crawlers. And then they're also moving a lot more towards putting content behind paywalls. So it's going to be really interesting how all those things play out and how that impacts how these generated experience can actually give the best information without those sources as readily available. So yeah, as though I don't really have an answer for how you do this stuff moving forward, because I don't think those answers are really out there yet. But I do think it's going to be very interesting to see how it moves forward and how sites are going to be able to maintain that monetization and presence to be able to give that good kind of comparison content that users really want. That stuff. You can take a look in most insurance and monetary areas, and a lot of your top performing sites are those comparison sites. People tend to have favorites and go straight to them and utilize them. I think it might be more outside of SEO and more within more within marketing and building brand relationships and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting as time moves on to see how that progresses with those generated experiences, if people do put more of their content behind paywalls or block AI crawlers from being able to use their information.
Amazing answer. Victory, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just a couple words to add because Alison has actually given a good response. I would actually say it actually feels unfair, but sadly that's the direction we're heading. A couple of suggestions that I could actually suggest that we do is, if it's possible, to create content that Google cannot generate on the fly, because the truth is AI mode can actually simulate content, but it cannot create it. So if you could try out industry benchmarks, niche case studies, expert guidance, content that has lived experiences. For example, if it's a brand that has actually created all those kind of calculators, mini apps, or tables, I think creating content that Google itself cannot generate could actually help. But again, sadly, it's one of those things that there is really not clear answer to. But it's also about thinking about things beyond Google, actually diversifying to other areas, YouTube, social platforms, community outlets, podcasts. So I think those are areas that could actually help.
Amazing. Joe, do you have anything to add?
I don't have anything to add because I'd like to answer our final question. I have enough time for that. So I want to say thank you very much to Victory and Alison, those excellent answers. And thank you everyone for adding your comments in the chat.
Yeah, amazing. I agree with Simon in the chat where he's just said about be original. And I think that's something that's so important. And just thinking about how you can bring your content to life that makes it not just the best answer on the internet on that particular subject, but also, like I said, brings it to life in some way. And I don't mean throwing an iPhone in a blender and that sort of thing, using things like video and, like Victoria was saying, podcasts and so on. And if it is about comparing things, actually getting in front of a camera and showing people what it looks like and putting those things to test, if it's possible, are things that, like Alison was saying, Google just can't replicate. Great. Did we want to run through anything in the chat, or should we just jump straight to the last question, Joe?
I just wanted to highlight that people have shared a lot of questions, sorry, a lot of links. Thank you, Jordan, around there's this share of a shift in ownership of content and royalties, about what companies are doing. OpenAI signed $1 billion deal with Disney to put the characters on Sora. Thanks everyone for adding things into the chat. And just that, sorry, just lots of different comments in the chat. There's loads. So just want to say thanks everyone for writing in the chat. We can jump to the next final question.
Okay, the next question and the final question is what always is our regular question, which is what are you most excited about in terms of SEO at the moment? Joe, let's start with you. What are you most excited about in terms of SEO?
I'm really excited about community. So Yammer actually asked me she wanted to get involved with or collaborate with Search London. So we're actually having our Search London 15th birthday party on February 24th. And we're actually offering a 50% early bird special discount for anybody that would like to join. The first 30 tickets are available. So at a 50% off, and it's going to be in a venue to be confirmed. I'll share the code in the chat. It's, I can say, eBird 50. We've already got 2 confirmed speakers, those from different communities. It is Jonathan Moore and Aaron Simmons. We will have up to 4 speakers, so watch the space while we have the confirmation. And yeah, use the chat, use the code so you can actually reserve your space because tickets will be selling quickly, and we have already a few sponsors lined up. If anybody else would like to help us put on the event, do let me know. Thank you.
Amazing. Victory, what are you most excited about in terms of SEO at the moment?
For me, one of the things I'm most excited about is that right now the industry is no longer siloed. SEO used to be like the technical team in the corner, fixing metadata and running audits. But right now, I think SEO is finally intersecting with other areas. For example, products, PR, community, UX, and brand. Yeah. So not right now, SEO touches like PR for authority, platforms like Reddit, of course, for community building. We're looking out for UX for usefulness to our audience. We're looking out for products for experience. And of course, we're actually looking out for AI at the moment. So I feel right now SEO is becoming more interdisciplinary and actually more impactful. So it's literally shaping how organizations communicate, build trust, and deliver value. So I think that's one thing that I really love about what is happening right now. And yeah, that's one thing I'm really excited about.
Amazing. Alison, what are you most excited about in terms of SEO at the moment?
Really similar. The opportunity to get to do loads more with more marketing teams rather than very much the sort of let's just produce some more written content, let's get more written content all around these topics out, but looking at how, especially like building brand authority and really exploring how to make your brand stand out in this AI world is really interesting. And also just seeing what's going to be coming up in all these generated experiences and what that means for, I'm going to go really broad, humanity. um, I think because we're in SEO, we're almost at like the forefront of really exploring all these things that are genuinely going to, I think, have these search experiences are going to have a huge impact on how people do things. The younger generations coming through now and seeing all of us oldies with our traditional put something into Google, like trying to fully understand how they don't find that maybe necessarily the route to go down and things like that as they start growing up with all these new experiences. So yeah, I think that's all really exciting.
Amazing. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I think we should stop there. Victory and Alison, thank you so much. You've been amazing special guests today. Thank you so much to those of you that joined us live. And thank you so much to those watching afterwards on YouTube. Joe said several times during this, come join us. It's so much better live. The jokes, the jokes, so many. It's great. And Joe, thank you so much for co-hosting. Thank you to those who submitted their questions. I hope we've helped and not confused you. I'm sure we have helped, that is. Thank you again so much, everybody. I hope you have a lovely weekend.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Alison and Victoria, for being our special guests. And thank you very much to our regular attendees and those that have also just recently joined us live. It's been great to have you here and celebrate our 89th episode.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.